Disclaimer, this video contains a curvy female anthro shark in a bikini. While there are no depictions of naughty bits at any point, viewer discretion is advised. Hi friends, welcome back to my 500 prompt series. Today I decided I'd do a random prompt collection since I'd like to have lots of options for how I get my prompts. So what I've done is I've shoved my fingers in 3 random spots here and we're gonna see what we get. First, I've got alien or tropical cocktail. Okay, next page. Coral reef, just one prompt this time. And next, starfish or flip-flops. Okay, I guess I'm choosing tropical cocktail over alien because that makes these all fit together crazy well. I'll have to think about which I want to choose between starfish or flip-flops though. Let's take it to the computer. So my first thought was to draw a mermaid. I thought I could do a really cartoony lineless style maybe, and draw her kind of relaxing against a coral reef while her cocktail washes away under the water. I'm still not sure at this point if I want to do starfish or flip-flops, so I put her in a starfish bikini, but then also played with the idea of putting her tail fins into some sandals. My husband, Blaze, happened to be sitting next to me while I was brainstorming, so I asked him for his suggestions, and I guess my microphone happened to be on while I recorded this segment, so... Well, there's idea number 1. Do you have anything?
Starfish in flip-flops.
In flip-flops, doing what?
Well, drinking the cocktail in the coral reef, you know?
Drinking the cocktail in the coral reef. Okay, well there's that one. What else have we got here?
Tropical cocktail drinking starfish in the coral reef.
In the coral reef.
Or drinking corals in the starfish reef.
No. After drawing those lovely ideas, I finally thought of something else on my own. I have an anthro shark OC named Julia Seabrook. I figured that instead of the mermaid idea, I could just use Julia instead, so I did a super rough sketch of that. Well, honestly, I'll just go ahead and say it. No. No. I'm not doing those ones. Clearly, I ended up choosing to go with Julia for this one, so off to a new canvas we go. I started with the shape of the background first. I decided I'd go with a rectangle for this piece. And then I needed to find some references for my pose, so I googled some lounging poses. And I just have one question. Who exactly lounges like this? That's not really what I wanted, but thanks anyway, Google. Next, I found this. I really liked the pose of the legs, but the upper body wasn't quite what I was looking for, so I decided I'd just combine some references. I saved this one so that I could look at the legs, but then eventually ended up finding this that I liked for the upper body pose. After finding those, I went ahead and grabbed some coral reef references that I liked, and then I went back to start sketching out the rough pose for the body. All of my humanoid bodies start off with these same shapes. I generally do this rectangular bean shape for the torso, circles for the shoulders, and then this specific shape for the hips. And then in the dips of that hip shape, I can attach the thighs and build the legs off from that point. I'm being super rough right now just so I can see where the body parts will need to go once I clean the sketch up, but for right now I don't need to be precise. I finish off her feet, tail, and her arm, and then I go in and start cleaning up. I usually start with the face, but I decided I'd get the hard part out of the way first and start with the hand. Rather than the martini glass I sketched out in the brainstorming, I went for a classic coconut cup. Julia's got claws, so I added those on too. Then I cleaned up the shape of the coconut, added in her arm, and then went in with my smoky brush to add the general shape of the drink floating away into the water. Let's add some cute little cocktail decorations, also floating away with the drink. Now I can get started on her face. Julia is a 25-year-old fresher shark and is an Australian surfer and model. She's generally pretty easy to get along with, but she's got a strong spirit and a fiery personality, so I figure a mischievous smile would fit her. I'll add some nose crinkles as if she's playfully snarling, and of course she needs her sharky teeth too. I personally prefer to draw anthro sharks more like they're dragon hybrids with claws and ears and the like, so I'll add her ear in here. And then let's get working on that eye. I figure I'll draw her eye half-lidded so you can get a good view of her lashes, plus then I'll have some room to fit a slanted eyebrow. Making her eyelid visible will help her expression to look actually mischievous rather than how it might look crazy if her eye was fully opened. Once her face is done, I'll move on to the arm. This armpit gave me so much trouble. The anatomy is very clearly off at first, so I decided to pull up a muscular reference for this raised arm pose. Following what I could see, I added in the shapes of the muscles as they move from her armpit to her elbow to her ribcage, which also helps me figure out how I should shape her bust. These muscles are only here to help me figure out where to put the indent of the armpit, so as soon as I've got that figured out, I'll delete those lines. The muscles there still look a little too big to me, so I'll shrink them down later, but for now we'll move on to another body part. I figure out the final shape of her bust before I move on to her stomach and her hips. Julia's pretty toned and doesn't have much belly fat, so I'll just add some slight tummy rolls to show the bend in her body. Most of the body fat on this character is in her lower half. She's got really wide hips and thick muscular thighs, so I'll make sure to make that pretty meaty once I get to it. For now though, her empty eyes are bothering me, so I'll just fill those in really fast and finally give her some hair. Julia's got pretty short hair, but I can still make it look a bit floaty since she's under the water. I know there's a big debate in the furry community about whether or not non-mammalian characters should have mammalian features such as belly buttons and hair. But I have a workaround. Julia is a shark, of course, but her grandma is a dolphin, and dolphins are mammals, so that's why Julia looks the way she does. She's part dolphin. Why not, right? Now, she's been looking a little too bare for a little too long, so let's put her bikini on. She wears a dark blue bikini with spaghetti straps, and her bottom piece is similarly stringy, so we'll add a little bow on her hip to show that her bottoms are there. And once I got her thighs done, I realized, while these are just her thighs and her booty isn't even visible, it still looks a bit questionable. So I decided I'd cover that up while I finish the sketch. I'll think of a way to fix that later on, but for now we'll play with this fun black box. Like I said before, I like anthro sharks with dragon-y features, so I'll give her some big clawed feet, and then of course I'll add in her tail. Up until this point, I still hadn't decided whether or not I wanted to use starfish or flip-flop as my third prompt, but I finally settled on flip-flop and figured I'd just save starfish for another day. So let's throw some sandals on her really fast and we'll call this part of the sketch complete. Now for the reef. I added a basic shape behind her so I know how I want the reef to look in the end, and then I'll start referencing the pictures that I saved earlier. I add some stick-like corals, big blobby corals, little fluffy anemones, some rocks, and even a giant clam. Once the reef is finished, I'll add some fish. I wanted to have at least one fish checking out her drink as it floats away, so we'll put a little angelfish here. And then we'll fix that big black box by replacing it with a few well-placed fish. I've got references for all of these fish saved so that I know how to color them later. And then finally, just so Julia isn't the odd one out here, I'll add a couple distant shark silhouettes in the background. After adding in the finishing touch of Julia's visible dew claw, which I forgot to sketch at first, it's all finished. Let's work on drawing that background now. Like I said in the first video of this series, I generally prefer a less refined look to my backgrounds, but since this one is so much closer to the subject of the piece, I decided I'd give it my full attention. I'm going to draw it in a lineless style so that I can separate it from Julia a little bit, but I'm still going to shade it and highlight it the same as I would as if it were a fully lined piece. The background alone took a whole 96 minutes to complete. A whole hour and a half. For reference, that's the same amount of time I spent on the sketch alone. And the entirety of the first prompt for this series, from brainstorming to final product, took me only 2 hours. So this one's so much more ambitious. I'd ask why I did this to myself, but I didn't. The prompts did it to me. Either way though, that reef is behind me now, so I can get started on these fish. I'll go ahead and give them my usual art treatment with line art and everything, and then we'll go ahead and color and shade them while we're at it. Now that the fish are done, there's only one thing left to do, and that's Julia, so let's get started on her line art. And now we can get started on her coloring. I'll do her eyes and her teeth first, and then I'll go in and add her body colors. She's decently simple as far as body markings go, so it won't take too long to get that down before we can move on to her shading. And finally, as the last few steps, I'll go ahead and blush her body with some pink, add a little more shadow to the left side of the piece, as well as a slight glow on the side of the light source. Then I'll add my signature, clean up the last few details, and we're all finished. I think we managed to avoid disaster here. It was looking like it'd come out a little risque, but I think I saved it with those fish. Still, maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but I'll know that anyone who's got a problem deliberately ignored my disclaimer, so whose fault is it really? Nah, it's mine, but I promise the next prompts won't come out so scantily clad. All jokes aside, I hope you enjoyed the video. I actually really like how it came out, and I like that I was able to draw one of my own characters for this one. I figure this must be the result of one of her modeling gigs. Maybe this is a billboard ad for some waterproof mascara or something? I don't know, she's got big fluffy lashes, I could see that being the product she's advertising. Either that or maybe some brand of beverage. So good even the fish want to taste? I don't know, whatever the story is, I like it either way. Thanks for watching, I had fun with this one, can't wait to see what happens next time. Don't forget, if you want to suggest some random page numbers for me, leave me 2 to 3 numbers between 1 and 236 in the comments, and maybe I'll choose your comment for the next video. But until then, I hope you all enjoy this. So see y'all next time. Bye!